Okay, somebody asked me in my last video about this, who do I have winning? I can't seem to find that comment anymore, but I figured I'd give my answer. Knull, the King in Black, versus the Avatar of Death, well, at least one of them, and the King of the Black Lanterns. He's not a king, but you did go with it. Now, obviously, the King in Black was an amazing event. It brought a lot of people back to comics. It's kind of cemented Donny Cates as this amazing storyteller and event maker. And Blackest Night was probably one of my favorite events in DC as a whole. Like everything that led up to it and then everything that came after it and the event itself was really good. And honestly, I would not be surprised at all to find out that Donny Cates was a fan of Geoff Johns, or at least of this event, because there's a lot of similarities between the two events. Huge, powerful entities taking over and heroes having to come together to fight the big bad guy. I mean, I know that part's every event, but these are two super strong villains. And honestly, I had to take a bit of a pause to think about this one for a minute, because I was thinking to myself, how would they really take each other out? And at the end of the day, I do have an answer for this, though I still feel like that is a valid question. I mean, if we look at the end of the... I'm sorry, it's just funny to me. Like, as soon as bro got the axe, Knull took off running. But essentially what we have here is the opposite end of the spectrum coming against the All Black and the King in Black, you know, and the Omega Force and taking over his body, and then he combines the two weapons, powers them up. It's this, you know, super big deal. And I mean, at this point, Venom and Eddie Brock was pretty much manhandling my guy. And once the All Black was removed from him, it was kind of easy to take him out. I mean, you know, it wasn't really that hard at that point, because Knull had gained a power through what he got from where he was from. And there was a bit left over with what he had to do with Dylan to take out the last bit of the dark power. But Nekron is a bit different. I mean, he is pretty much, besides Death of the Endless, the embodiment of death. And in the story, he was confronted with his counterpart as well, the Light of Creation. And don't get me wrong, Val Sinestro was fighting, dude. I mean, he even ripped out my guy's heart, right? But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. And yeah, Sinestro wasn't very compatible to bond with the creation power, but they at one point had all the powerhouses putting all of their light into Nekron, which, if you've read the event, basically overpowering a Black Lantern took pouring a massive amount of light into them. So you essentially had that tactic, but like across the board, everybody that was there, all the powerful ring users, and there was a bunch of ring users if you read the event. Like, so many people were getting rings. And bro took all of that and was basically like, that's not power. I am power. My power is what you need to worry about. And he was still just jacking everybody up. And honestly, even when basically multiple versions of what Eddie Brock was doing, I'm not saying that they were individually as powerful as what Eddie Brock had going on, but when you look at the multiple amount of White Lanterns that came up, right, you would think, oh, this is the end thing. No, he was still fighting this. And even with the Anti-Monitor freeing himself, like, bro was still there, standing 10 toes down with his scythe. And it took taking out his anchor in that world to banish him, essentially. So ultimately, I believe I'm going to give this fight to Nekron, though I'm not saying it would be an easy fight. I mean, this isn't like you can just do enough damage to Knull to beat him. I mean, there's tactics involved, there's things that you have to do. And considering both of these guys are of the darkness and death and the abyss, but unless Nekron got lucky and just took out the anchor that was holding Nekron there, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't see him having a way to win. Obviously, if he could get his symbiotes out there, and take over the right people, get the right information, possibly, you know, I feel like they kind of got lucky with Nekron and was able to do that. But other than that, I don't think that there's anything you can really do to stop Nekron once he's here in the world. Like, even if you just destroy, he's just going to come back. Like, there's not really anything you can do to him. Whereas we did actually see Knull get destroyed. It's comic book, so, you know, for now, So for that reason, I do give this fight to Nekron, but I mean, it would be an amazing crossover event. I'd read it. What do you guys think? Hope everybody's well. See you around.